Coming up on this episode of The Village Idiom.
Usually when you say somebody has their head in the clouds, it's condescending.
Dad, I'm going out into the world to save everybody. Okay, Jesus. Good luck out there.
That boy has his head in the clouds.
Village Idiom.
Hello and welcome to the Village Idiom.
We are a podcast that every day we take a popular English saying and we analyze it. We tear it apart. We go into the origins.
We dissect it.
We Google stuff. We find out all that information, and then we hang our otherwise directionless conversation on it. My name is Jurassic Mark.
And I am Wikipedia.
I hope so. I hope you are today.
Oh my goodness. The Googles are like just a cesspool of nonsense when you start looking for... It's just got so much of everything.
It's a good thing, right?
It can be, but it's kind of like you have to have your own degree in Google in order to...
I've got my doctorate.
Do you have a doctorate in Google?
Yeah.
Well, it's good. You need one.
I have Googles all around me. I can barely say the word Google without some appliance answering me.
Or person or thing. It's
I don't know, but I found these results on search.
We didn't even say it. See what I'm saying?
She's listening. She's listening. We love you. Don't send killer drones to our address.
Exactly.
Oh, anyways, I'm Skinny. It's a great day in paradise here.
It is, truly. There's no floods. There's no infestation. There's no fires.
Everything's working properly and perfectly for once.
It's perfect. You're right. Perfect is the word.
Oh, it's just like some days when I just think it can't get any better. It just can't get any better is what I'm saying.
No. Is that you know, is that how you're segueing? It can't get any better. That's your segue.
Well, it's not good.
Well, you know, I actually had intended, and I'll explain maybe later, that today's idiom would have been last week's idiom.
Well, it would have been if we had done it last week.
Fair enough. That's deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Or we get a time machine in the future and go back to fix it.
Now, these are lofty ideas. These are ideas that are way up there. You might even say something like this.
You'll always have your head in the clouds. But
Is that Patrick?
That was Patrick. You always have your head in the clouds. Head in the clouds.
It's a great one. It's filled with loftiness. It's with grandiose plans.
Yeah, and we did Doubting Thomas last week because it was Easter weekend. But I had this one as a backup because
like head in the clouds, like the Lord ascending.
Yeah, I was thinking his head. He rises up and disappears into the clouds.
Woo.
But
He's
also,
got his head in the clouds at Jesus.
That's it. That's the problem with it. Is it usually when you say somebody has their head in the clouds, it's condescending.
Dad, I'm going out into the world to save everybody. Okay, Jesus. Good luck out there.
That boy has his head in the clouds. Watches his son ascend into heaven. Called it.
Can't believe he pulled it off.
He's
Way to go.
truly saved the world. That's my boy.
That's
hear-
dancing on a line.
It is. You don't hear anything about Joseph at the time of the crucifixion, do you? It's all about Mary.
Yeah, where is he? He's just... That's a great point.
He's probably somebody's got to go to work.
He's just paying for it. He's like, bankrolling this whole thing.
He's still doing carpentry. It's like, I'd love to come, son.
Yeah.
I got clients.
I got thousands of people for you to feed.
He's working the lathe. Oh, how? No, I'm not going there.
Oh, if you're going where I think you're going, don't go there.
I'm not going to go there. I don't know
That's
if you
good.
know where I was going, but...
If it has anything to do with wood and Easter, there's few places it can go.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, and so it's best to not go there. With the head in the clouds, it's we think of like pioneers, and one that's kind of noteworthy right now is our good friend Elon Musk.
Yeah. There's a guy that
head in the clouds.
If you didn't see the evidence, there's somebody who truly has his head in the clouds. You're just like, wow, it's like, what? He's crazy. And then he keeps pulling it off.
Somehow, this fantastic kind of segue, because it's layered, his head in the clouds, and his recent, last week, he's going to buy Twitter, or he wants to buy Twitter, which I think it's fantastic. And you talk about people with their heads in the clouds, people at Twitter freaking out because they're idealistic and they don't want, he's going to allow free speech on the platform. It's like, well, we don't want that.
You know,
Forget
no
that.
matter what side of the argument you might be on, his approach to this is so Mr. Burns. Like, just all the money in the world. So what does he do? First, he gives He spreads rumors that he doesn't think there's enough free speech. There's so much. I mean, truly, everybody refers to the cancel culture, so it is a real thing. There's censorship like crazy in a world where for the last 200 years or more has prided themselves in say whatever you want, burn the flag if you want. You can say anything. This is democracy,
land of the free, home of the brave.
Yeah, and
Canada.
Within reason, like there's certain things you cannot say, but it's not a restriction on speech. It's for safety and blah blah blah. Now we got anyway. Not to go down that road. No matter what side of the argument you are on with Elon Musk, he said there's not enough freedom of speech in social media. I'm going to create my own. So everyone's like giddy. Like, what's he going to make? Like, I'm in. Like, what is he going to call it? What's he going to do? And nothing happens until he buys becomes the largest shareholder in Twitter.
It's so funny.
And you're like, oh, he's not going to create one and start from scratch. He's going to buy the biggest one. And then, okay, fine, you're the largest shareholder. Why don't you be on our board? No, thank you. And then give it, 48 hours? Actually,
I'd like to buy the whole thing.
I'd like to buy the whole thing. And anybody who's against it comes off as anti-free speech.
It's so funny.
So I think he's going to pull it off. That's my guess.
We'll see what happens.
I predict he's going to pull it off.
The idealism of like, we don't want hate speech, which is like, no one wants to see people, but one person's hate speech. So like, I don't like bald people. It's well known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll own my white privilege for a second.
Okay.
But I will say that I have not experienced what other people in different situations have experienced. However, you'd be hard-pressed to make me sad at anything that comes out of your mouth. Like, I get sad, but you should have the right to say it because I think truth wins out.
Yeah, it's that, like, let idiots expose themselves as idiots.
Yeah, back in the day, like, early TV, they would bring on a crazy person to explain their side of things. And we watched it.
That guy's nuts.
Jaws on the floor, hoping we would understand why some nut job white supremacist would have those feelings. And you're like, we let him speech.
I don't want to do that.
We let him speak, and he's crazy. It's official.
Right. So it's funny when you push people off. What ends up happening is, so the idealism of like, of course, we don't want anyone to turn words into action and have something terrible happen, but you just can't keep taking away people's words either.
Yeah. So
because then they go off into the corner and create their own world of insanity without its own balances and checks, and everything becomes polarized.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where we've landed.
You kind of got to have a
do you
town
think the
square.
difference between somebody having their head in the clouds and someone being achieving what would otherwise seem crazy, is it just money? Like if Elon Musk were saying all of these things but had no money, would he just be somebody?
If he was on like Hastings Street,
yeah, he
talking
would just
to
be
himself?
a guy with his head in the clouds. But instead, he's not crazy because he's actually just doing it.
If he was all disheveled out on Hastings Street, like I'm going to build a rocket ship, I'm going to Mars, we'd be like, you're nuts. But when you're a million or bajillionaire, it's like he might just do it.
I think I've used the idiom "head in the clouds" a couple of different ways. One being, they're just not in reality. They are floating on air. But then I think I've also used it. He's got his head in the clouds. Like, I think I lost my train of thought. I think my head is in the clouds.
You're just such an idealist.
This was my second one. Oh yeah, overly optimist.
Squirrel.
Like too optimistic. I think I've also used he's got his head in the clouds as someone who is just I'm a pretty optimistic guy. Like in general, I see good in people, or I assume the best in people. Even when something really doesn't go my way, I'm like, I'm sure they didn't mean it. But at the same time, I'm like, is my head just in the clouds? Should I be more real? Should I be more skeptical?
I don't even know if it's just that, but like I would say the reverse might be to have your head in the sand. That idiom,
funny.
where you're just kind of like buried and ignore everything that's going on, but they're kind
We
of
should have done those back to back.
they're kind of the same coin, but
Yeah.
different sides of it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like you create your like own little echo chambers.
Would you rather have your head in the sand or have your head in the clouds?
I have to go clouds, except for
Totally.
the oxygen issue. But I guess it's still an
What's-
oxygen
what's
issue.
worse, low oxygen in the clouds or no oxygen in the dirt?
I'll take my chances.
In the clouds.
I'll take my chances.
Absolutely.
In the clouds can be fairly low. But in that same thing, like that idealism, or someone who like just is in their own little world where they leave other things behind, makes me think of like our D&D type friends.
I don't have any.
Friends? You must have a couple.
I don't have any D&D friends.
Oh, I see.
Oh, wait, are you a D&D friend?
A little bit.
I've literally never played.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh my goodness! Half of our
I grew up in a conservative Christian church where when Dungeons and Dragons came out, it was like the devil himself.
But just the creativity factor you must appreciate.
I don't know anything about it.
You're creative. Enjoy these like fantasy type scenario. You're like AD&D. Like you, like. You could obsess about this and create your own little world, which I guess...
Did you just make that up?
Well,
That's pretty great.
I just keep a couple in my back pocket. Where there's just this... I'm in this fantasy place. And so sometimes Head in the Clouds is like that, where it's just... You're so...
Not that this podcast is about D&D, but from what I do know about Dungeons and Dragons, what I don't like is the freedom of the dungeon master.
Oh, yeah. Freedom is bad.
Yeah, it just seems a little
Who wants
willy-nilly.
freedom? Huh?
Like,
That's what I'm saying.
So, yeah, you approach the goblin and you throw a spear. Okay, roll the dice. Spear missed. You're out of the game.
Okay, so it's not quite... there's parts of that are
The
true.
goblin gobbled you.
But in the free commerce side of things, if the dungeon master is like just off his rocker and an idiot, then people won't play with him.
I'm having deja vu. I think we've discussed this because that exact example you've given, yeah, you work yourself out of the role of dungeon master.
It's free market, man. It's capitalism working in D&D. So that if you repeatedly get killed by random things that happen from this person, you're just like, that's not fun anymore. I'm not having fun.
Right.
And so you remove yourself. But Head in the Clouds, we do like people who are, optimistic. There's a little bit of dreaminess, a little bit of fantasy in there.
Yeah, and there's some people that have their head in the clouds, and it's fascinating. Like, this is not meant to be insulting, but what is? Oh, now I'm gonna forget his name.
Focus.
History
Words.
Malcolm Gladwell. Malcolm Gladwell thinks like
Wow.
like nobody I've ever listened to before. Like the way he reanalyzes things, the way he retells things, you're like, how? So his head is in a different space, but that's somehow different than having your head in the clouds.
So you drop it more as like unrealistic. Your head's so in the clouds that you've lost touch with reality.
Yeah, you're right. It's closer to the head in the sand. Like there's no realism here.
But having that ability to focus or find ways to focus yourself is valuable. So some people meditate.
I've never found value in it. Focusing?
You've had a Ford Focus.
I did. That was valuable for a while.
so or some people try and get themselves into like places with like smelly candles or that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm insensitive to that kind of stuff.
Insensitive?
Oh, that's Freudian. I don't even know how that popped in there. It's incense. The stinky candles. Where people try and find themselves in this place where they can draw in and
You wax eloquently.
Thanks. That's the only thing that I wax. Having being at a place where you can like, I don't know, just kind of like meditate and draw in and focus oneself, so that, because you have to keep touch with reality.
Well, here's an interesting thing. So we've got the polar opposites of head in the sand versus head in the clouds, and if you're neither, that guy's really got his head on his shoulders.
Wow, that's crazy,
right?
That's insane. Wow. Mine just exploded.
So all other idioms that we may or may not come back to, but there's a true spectrum there.
Man, it's good being on Spectrum.
Right.
Having, I've literally never thought of that.
No,
That head in the sand was the one I was like, oh, that's got to be, because you're looking for like those extremes, but head on your shoulders brings it all together.
See, I think head in the sand is, bad is coming, you hide from it.
You're ignoring it.
Head in the clouds, you don't even know the bad is coming. You just la la la.
I see.
But head on your shoulders, you deal with the good and the bad. You take them both, and there you have the facts of life.
I feel changed. I'm a changed person now. Just from this little bit of idiom, I'm changed. If anything,
I feel like a little bit of idiom goes a long ways.
The idiom called, he wants his village back.
That's funny.
Well, anyway, we should probably actually find out where this sucker really actually comes
Well,
from.
there's only one way to do that.
Said some words, where'd they go? Where'd they go? No one can know. I turned around and looked behind. Those words came from another mind. Origin.
Okay, well, you might be surprised to know that the earliest use of this expression dates back to the mid-1600s. Way older than I expected. And then I was thinking about it. I'm like, I can imagine Shakespeare throwing that kind of language around. So I shouldn't have been as surprised. It just felt more modern than it was. But the origins are actually a little bit uncertain beyond that. And probably just kind of the imagery of somebody very creative. There are some references to its earliest appearance in print, but even that is arguable. But at the time of this coming up, one thing we do know is that there was no aviation, right? There was no airplanes, no form of flight. So the thought of having your head in the clouds was even more lofty than we think of now.
Like bird-brained?
Oh, the only thing I could think of that would combat that particular situation that nobody's ever in the clouds is there were for sure people that climbed mountains.
Or lived in mountains.
Prehistoric climbed past clouds. Because or could they? Like, when does oxygen start thinning out?
Well, people can
I've been above
survive
clouds.
in like Tibet and things.
I've definitely been I was on the mountaintop in Hawaii, way above the clouds. That was beautiful. Other than an airplane, have you ever been above the clouds, looking down on the clouds?
Absolutely, skiing.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's
So
being
that's
on a-
not like
being on a cloud.
unbreathable. So people, aviation or not, people probably had been above clouds.
And people climatize when they spend more
Yeah.
time. You just get used to having less oxygen in your body.
Right. So let's see. Head in the clouds. Where was my quote? We know it means. So we've been talking about how it's used, what it means, blah blah blah. But this is what was jotted down: abstracted, absent-minded. Apparently, it used to be your head in the air. So somebody who is those ways is like, there's a guy with his head in the air. But that almost sounds like snobbery.
Yeah, sure. Nose in
Nose
the air.
in the air, head in the air. And if you got your head in the air, you're just kind of walking tall.
Isn't everyone's head in the air? This doesn't make sense.
Maybe that head's not getting enough air. That should be an idiom. That head's not getting enough air. But head in the air
airhead
apparently didn't convey the notion adequately, and it got extended all the way to the clouds. So in 1903, Troll gave I'm literally reading this is not the way I talk. Troll gave a sharp example of the characterization. The laureate crossed over the lawn with the dreamy head in air gait that was known through 5 parishes round. So that's the head in air version.
A space cadet.
And
What
that's 1903. So, which is weird because we've already discussed it goes back to the 1600s, but I couldn't find any source. It wasn't Shakespeare, it wasn't Chaucer, there wasn't any source saying, here's how we know it goes back this far. And the only source I have is it used to be head in the air, and that's from 1903. So maybe it is more modern. Maybe there's not enough information out there. I always hate when we have podcasts where I can't nail it down, but
Right. But there's when you do look at research, it's just like, there's nothing here.
right. Yeah, totally. I did find,
Or when they reference each other. That's a fantastic little circle.
I was just going to say, I did find a lot of this particular head in the clouds being tacked onto being on cloud 9. So cloud 9 is a completely different use in today's language, but it is a lofty, a little
more
euphoric, kind of thing where reality kind of takes a backseat to the experience going on in your own head.
When this whole topic makes me think of for those who are in the either the kid raising or the grandchildren raising phase of things. And there's a part of like the adult experience where you want to pass along like your knowledge.
A kidney stone.
Mm-hmm. You want to pass along your knowledge to that next generation. And so, but often what comes off is you're just a big giant killjoy. And so it's like they're sick of listening to us on certain things because we've been around the block a few times. It's like, I wouldn't do that if I was you because It's like, okay, thanks, killjoy.
Right.
And so I found that a great way of going about this is to just go to the stars with them. Let them dream. Man, I want that new whatever, that car. I'm going to get that, special. That sounds awesome.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah, you're going to need a wicked job to get that. Like, that's fantastic. What are you thinking about? And,
Totally.
Yeah, and then just let life kick this nut out of them.
Here's one.
Life is its own terrible teacher. It doesn't need me.
My two sons have their head in the clouds, but in two different ways. Like, solid guys, they're going to do well in life.
They will. And are.
But here's so I've got one, my younger son, Beetlebat. He's been on here before, and his head is in the clouds in the funnest way possible. Like, you will have the time of your life with him, and you have tons of fun with my older son as well. But his head is in the clouds in different ways. So I don't know if this is head in the clouds or just. He is a lofty thinker, so he likes to write. He likes to whatever, and he was gonna be. He wanted to be a journalist, a writer, and I was kind of trying to steer him towards like, why don't you become a teacher then, and you can write on the side. Go ahead.
Right.
It's like saying I'm going to be a rock star.
This totally sounds like dad advice.
Right. So anyway, he went to school.
A stable job.
Going to be a journalist, and then fast forward a few years, he's married with a kid. He's not a journalist, but he's doing very well in life. So out of the blue, I'm visiting him just last week, and I said, "Hey, do you do any writing ever, just for fun, or blogging or whatever?" And he goes, "Oh, I wrote a book of poetry." I'm like, "Oh," he goes, "Yeah, I published it."
What?
I'm like, "What?"
And didn't say anything?
Nothing. And he goes, "Yeah, it's on Amazon." So right in front of him, pull out my phone, type in his name. Sure enough, a book of poetry available on Amazon. I ordered 3 copies on the spot.
That's fantastic.
I'm like, what?
Village
Why did you tell me?
Tyron Batten.
Yeah, Beyond the Brink is the book title.
Head to Amazon and buy
Beyond
his
the
wares.
Brink. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So it's not the same meaning, but it's that I do get a feeling of head in the clouds from both of them because they're so creative.
But if he did it, is his head in the clouds?
No, but I think head in the clouds sometimes comes with creativity where you're just like, you need that artistic outlet.
But he did it. So
I guess he's not.
He's more grounded.
But when you read it, you're like, oh, maybe it is.
But he did it.
There's a few in there that I'm like,
I don't know. I think head in the clouds like more like just dreamy. Like that. I can't even remember his name. It might be like Ralphie or something. It's like a Disney kind of cartoon where like there's the kid who's like he always slips into little daydreams.
yeah.
And he looks outside and he sees a bird, and next thing you know, he's in a fighter jet. And
right. Yeah.
That is what I think. Head in the clouds.
Fair enough. Yeah. Daydreamers.
But he did it. So your son did it.
Yeah. So
good for him.
They're just bigger than their reality. I guess we all are.
I'm larger than a lot.
Okay. I found the one quote that I couldn't find a verse. So this comes from a New English Dictionary of the English Language, Charles Richardson, 1836, still not the 16th century, but it says, when God makes the clouds to gather round about us, we wrap our heads in the clouds, and like the male contents at Galveston, we seem sad and troubled, but his doggedness and murmur. So it doesn't mean exactly the same thing, but it definitely was used at least 1836. The earliest mention in text was that one, and then there's also some references to spiritual origin. We are talking in the abstract, If you apply all my words to myself, I shall have to stop. But I have seen many a married student, and have seen in him, with his head in the clouds, as you say, go stumbling along the obstacles which had accumulated through his abstraction, and hardly knew what they were or how they came. So that's almost bang on the way we use it today, and that was 1854. So, yeah. So...
well, that kind of sums things up.
There's still a bunch that says 1600s. I just can't find a quote.
Then it didn't happen.
Then it didn't happen.
No phonographs. It didn't happen.
That's right. So
whatever.
Head in the clouds tends to be naive, gullible.
Little Modern Family. Just literally describing. We could have just played that and said, good night, everybody. describes what it means.
Or good morning.
Or good morning.
Either way. In the clouds. Well, we are way on time, so we got to head into our final phases here.
We are way on time.
We are way
neither late nor early. We are way on time.
It happened exactly when we wanted it to today, whatever time that is.
Nobody plans a podcast like these two.
So we're going to head into some riddlings.
Oh, that's me. Riddling is a game we like to play. It takes a two-part trivia-based question, requires a two-part but overlapping answer, overlapping by sound, syllable, word, words, entire sentences, or paragraphs. maybe not that.
Wow.
So, for example, last week, last week I said was Doubting Thomas. Do you remember what we left them? I forgot to pull it up. Any idea? Oh, wait, here it is. Doubting Thomas, we left you with this. Wally Cleaver just won't believe. Remember you liked how concise it was. Wally Cleaver just won't believe.
What was the idiom?
Doubting Thomas. So the trick here is
Thomas.
You need to know the actor that played Wally Cleaver.
Thomas?
Oh, that's Jerry Mathers. That's the Beaver.
Okay.
And Jerry Mathers
Walter Billingsley.
as the Beaver.
Walter Billingsley.
Wow, you remember? That's Barbara Billingsley.
Barbara
as the mom.
Billingsley. Okay.
That's pretty good. I'm impressed already.
It's all jumbled in there somewhere.
So his first name
Hugh
is
Dowell.
You're getting first names and last names wrong. This is hilarious.
Tony Dowell?
Tony Dow. Tony Dow.
Tony Doubting Thomas?
That's it.
Oh.
That's how you play riddling. You work it out.
I think I just got an
It's
aneurysm.
Tony Dow and Doubting Thomas. So the correct answer is Tony Doubting
that
Thomas.
weird?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, that's how you play.
It's all scrambled
riddling.
in there.
Yeah, that was funny. Jerry
Mathers.
Henry Billingsley. It's Barbara Billingsley. It's Jerry Mathers and Harvey Dowell, and it was Tony Dow. It was in there. It was in the Rolodex out of order.
There. Well, I've got a couple.
I got a couple.
Let's get into it here. Okay, illegitimate children, chime in. See if you can beat Jurassic Mark. Gingers are absent-minded. I'll say it again. Gingers are absent-minded.
That's great. I'm gonna go with Redhead in the Clouds.
Redhead in the Clouds.
That's really absurd. That's like Fiery and Head in the Clouds. I can see that. I only know a couple gingers, but I get it.
Makes sense.
Thinking of one in particular.
I can't think of one who introduces this podcast.
If you know, you know.
If you
Okay,
know, you know.
I got one for you. All right, let's see if you get this. Sleepyhead. Oh, this is... I'm reading the answer instead of the riddle.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So I'm going to read the answer. You come up with the riddle.
Okay.
No. Wiki Wiki. Are you tired from idealistic dreaming?
That's a good one.
Wakey wakey, are you tired from idealistic dreaming?
Is that a sleepyhead in the clouds?
Yeah, I can't believe I started by saying sleepyhead.
I guess it depends
So
on how you write. You
lame.
must have wrote it different this week. Whatever.
I'm glad I didn't leave that one for everybody. It'd be like, here's the answer. Get back to us.
Okay, let me get into the
Maybe we
second
get
one
more.
here.
Maybe we get more responses.
Okay, well this one has a bit of trickery to it.
I like it.
Smelly candles for
Smelly cat.
Smelly candles for Jane Austen, written before Pride and Prejudice.
Huh.
Smelly candles for Jane Austen, written before Pride and Prejudice.
Are you going for the word incense? Smelly candles is not incense, but do you like the word incense? Yeah, okay. Oh, Incense and Sensibility?
That's the one.
Oh, there you go.
Wow, good for you. Pulling some old.
I wouldn't have said incense for smelly candles, but you had said that earlier, so
I know. I was throwing you a bone. Getting it in your head.
why is our sound fading here? Is that better?
Are we dying right now?
I am a little bit every day.
Here we go.
All
Final
right,
one.
I got one more, but why don't we leave this one dangling out there for all the illegitimate children?
Village children, we love you out there. Reach out to us on Instagram at the.village.idiom or email us thevillageidiompodcast at gmail.com, or whether it's the Facebooks, the YouTubes, or the Twitters at 3 Minutes Gone.
All right, here it is. I'm going to read it twice. This Hellraiser has disconnected lofty ideas. One more time. This Hellraiser has disconnected lofty ideas.
And that is 3 Minutes Gone. Wow. Kind of fit somehow.
Gonna work on that every week.
Well, it was fun putting today's podcast together.
Sure was.
Hope you enjoyed it. Get it back about your day. Get it back.
Get it back.
Get it back about your day. I'm Skinny.
I'm Jurassic Mark.
And these are the Village Idioms.
Oh, see, you'd think I'd be used to being ready.
That's 3 minutes gone.